I went from 0 to 6 figures in less than 6 months selling watches, and this is how I did it. It's extremely important, the pictures you take. This is the only watch used in space. Here it is, $4,450. I get to do this as a side hustle and still make money doing it. I am super excited today. I have a very, very special treat for you. We've been planning this for months. In doing our business masterclasses, we have two. One is the CBX, which is Christian Business Accelerator. The other one is the Leadership Success Masterclass. And there's a lot of things that I share in those two live events that help business owners to start and to grow and to expand what they're doing in terms of their businesses and or their ministry. Most, by and large, people who employ the techniques we give them usually see multiplication in terms of their business and their growth. There are a few that I've noticed that have been looking to start a business and really didn't necessarily, in my opinion, take to heart what we have taught them and the things that we showed them how to do. And so we kind of did an experiment. I started a business with absolutely nothing. We started it from scratch. It was a side hustle, and we have grown it to the point where it's a 6-figure business in less than 6 months. And so today, I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look on exactly how I did it. Everything I'm going to share with you is specifically related to the watch business that I started. Now, whatever business you have, there are principles that I'm going to kind of highlight that are applicable across any industry. You can apply these tips and techniques, and they're all things that you can learn way more about through our business masterclasses, because obviously I can't give you all of it in the short time that we have together, but I'm going to give you enough that you're going to be able to take what you get out of these videos and you're going to be able to apply it in your own business and see unbelievable growth. When I was 18 years old, I got 2 jobs to save up and to buy my first timepiece. This is the very first watch that I ever purchased. It's a Sector, which is primarily known in the yachting and boating world, but this was my first watch that I ever bought. I have always had a passion for watches, and what I have learned over the years of collecting is that watches, just like anything else, it's just like art, and you're starting to see today that the investment strategy of wealthy people is to include other things other than 401ks and real estate and gold and silver and things like that. They're adding to their portfolio watches. Understanding the market will position you to be able to make money off of watches in the same way that you would make money off of art. A diversified portfolio now is starting to include some of these higher end timepieces. Less than a year ago, a watch that was a Audemars Piguet Tiffany blue dial sold for millions. And the moment it sold for millions, it created a ripple in the marketplace. And so every watch that had not even exactly the Tiffany blue, but a similar blue color face skyrocketed. So, for example, a Rolex Oyster Perpetual would cost you $6 to $8 grand brand new. Went to 12 grand, and then it went to 24 grand, and then it went to 34 grand. I've seen them sell as high as $38,000. So if you can kind of process, this is all happening in a 6-month period of time. So if you had one that you bought at 7 grand, you have now tripled, quadrupled your money in a very short period of time. When you're choosing a market of where you're going to put your efforts and your time, you have to choose a market that, number one, you understand. Number two, that has enough organizational and market inefficiencies for you to be able to capitalize on the opportunities, because you've got to discern and understand what's going on in your marketplace. Although I chose watches, you can choose whatever it is that you do, but you got to understand it. You got to study it. And so the first thing that I did back in January of last year is I joined a few different groups, Reddit, eBay. I got into YouTube, and I started watching videos. I started reading blogs. I started studying and watching what's happening in the marketplace. I began to understand the different brands and what people wanted, what people like. Believe it or not, there's a customer type that likes certain types of things. And so the next thing I would advise you to do with your business is find who your customer is, who is your avatar, and not so much demographic. In other words, not so much age and income, which most people advocate that. I'm talking about psychographic. Psychographic is more along the lines of why they like what they like, what are their interests. For example, with watches, watches are not as popular with women as they are with men. And that's not a sexist thing. That's just a differential between and understanding the market. Jewelry obviously is very popular, more so with women than it is with men. But watches is very much a man's way of expressing himself with his accessories. Understanding that when you're looking at different types of watches, you now begin to see it from a different perspective. It's not demographic, it's more of a psychographic, as in terms of what does a man want, what does he like, what does he like to watch for, what does he do with it, is he an avid sportsman, is he a hunter, does he want something for work, is he a professional. All of those things go into making a decision about your inventory, who your client is, who your market is, and exactly what it is that will make them tick. I spent a good 4 or 5 months researching the marketplace, understanding what's available, realizing what sales are looking like, what people are buying, what type of margins do the organizations operate off of. And I've begun to learn that most of people in the watch business, most dealers operate on a 10 to 15% margin. Well, overall in business, that's not enough. And so what I've learned how to do is to capitalize on those market inefficiencies to put myself at a margin where I'm between 20 to 30% on every single watch. That helps me to then fund the things that I need to do by making sure that I buy correctly. And so that leads me to the next point. It's very simple. You buy low and you sell high. I remember in high school, I started selling candy. When I sold candy, the school was selling it. Of course, they buy low and they sell high and they do fundraisers. Well, I figured there's no point in me selling candy for them to make money when I could do it for myself. So I went to what was BJ's at the time, which is kind of like a Costco or a Sam's Club, and I bought candy in bulk. And then I broke it down and sold it myself and started making the money for myself, which at one point the principal called me in and said, I can't do that anymore. So he shut down my whole candy enterprise. But the premise of that is to buy low and to sell high. Everything in business is based on this premise. And so what I've learned how to do is to research and to find the deals. And everything is not a deal, and it doesn't matter whether I like it or don't like it. What matters to me is, do the numbers work? I'm not buying them for myself. I'm buying them to then repackage and resell. And so understanding how the market is, what's working in the market, what is not working in the market, understanding different brands, what the brands are representing, what the brands are selling for. And so, for example, just using the watch market, there really aren't that many watch manufacturers out there. Most every brand out there is made by somebody else. So, for example, Rolex makes 2 brands. They make Tudor and they make Rolex. Both of those brands are made by the exact same company. And believe it or not, they put out almost the exact same watch under a different brand. And of course, the price is less because it's a different brand. When you deal with watches like Omega and Breitling, and you run down the list, those are all made by Swatch, which I don't know if you remember the old Swatch watches that had the multiple colors. Most people do not know that Swatch makes about 15 different brands of watches. They make all these different brands to cater to a specific market. So if you buy a Swatch, you're going to be a certain type of consumer. If you're going to go buy an Omega, you're going to be a certain type of consumer. And so they understand that there is no cross-functionality. Most people try to be all things to everybody. You can't be all things to everybody and still make money. You have to understand who is your client, what is your brand. Are you a luxury brand? Are you a value brand? What is it that you are looking for? And stay focused and committed to going after the market that you are best suited to help and to service. Here you can see this guy said, I will shoot you $4,450 tomorrow via wire. Here it is, $4,450. And so here's another guy. This is the Omega Speedmaster, but it's called the Moon Watch, and it is the only watch used in space. For free business coaching, please visit us at leadershipuncensored.org.